everyone. This is Tia Torres, and thanks for joining me on the next Wild Instincts. So, where were we last? Oh, yeah, we had just landed in Sri Lanka. Now, for those that don't know, Sri Lanka is, I guess you could call it an island. I know that it takes only 4 hours to drive from one end to the other, like across the island. So it's not that big. But it's off the coast of India. And you have to remember, I went there in the mid 90s. So it was very, I wouldn't call it third world, but it was pretty close. But we'll get into that in a little bit. All right. So we just landed and we went through the hell with getting my pit bull Tatanka accepted into the country. Now, mind you, um, we still haven't figured out why they didn't recognize her as a dog. So that was a thing. And I forgot to mention in the last episode, she was on the manifest as a dog. And we did make sure that, pit bulls were allowed in the country. Um, they didn't really, not really, they didn't even know what a pit bull was. But we had her as a dog. They said she wasn't a dog, that she was a baby bear. Okay, we're going to learn, maybe not in this episode, but in a future episode, why they did not think she was a dog. All right. So we got all the animals loaded up. They're in their cages. We have like a convoy going to the compound where the animals are going to be staying. And God, if I remember correctly, it wasn't, well, it wasn't close. It was a couple of hours. And now mind you, we went there in June. So it was hot as hell and the humidity was woo. So we load up and we're going, and all my wolf dogs were like in the back of like a big truck, like a stake bed truck, as all the animals were. So we take off and we head out, and I gotta say this: once we got out of like the metropolitan kind of area, it was beautiful. I mean, it was jungle, and you look out, and the canopy of trees like went up there was like mountains almost, and it was gorgeous. Just green, green, and green. I mean, it was beautiful. All right, so we're going along, tootling along, and I forgot how many trucks were in the convoy. Uh, Quite a bit. And I would say we probably were driving for about 30 minutes or so. And like choreographed, all of a sudden, all the trucks pull off to the side of the road. Like, just pulled over. Now, mind you, there were no cell phones. I forgot to mention that. They didn't have cell phones in the country yet. From what I understood, the very, very wealthy people did, but they were like little flip phones. But nobody had them. So it wasn't like everybody all of a sudden coordinated and called each other and pulled over. But all the trucks just pulled over. And we're like, what the hell's going on? We got to get going. And so Brian, our boss man, the head Brit, jumps out of his truck, and you could hear him yelling and screaming, "We can't keep these animals sitting on her like this. What's going on?" And there were only a couple of people that spoke English, and thankfully our driver did. And he says, "Oh, it's tea time." Wait, what? The fuck's tea time? It's a tradition. Certain times of the day, you stop what you're doing and you have tea. You drink tea. Like, you just stop. And I'm like, wait, what? It was almost like it was sacrilegious not to do it. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they were not going to move. Okay. So we sat there for, oh God. I mean, I don't even know how long it was, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And Brian was cussing and like he was pissed. And, it was like, oh, wow. So we finally get back on the road. and we're tootling along, and it's starting to get a little dark. I mean, not yet, but the sun is setting. Okay, this is amazing what I'm about to tell you. So the trees in Sri Lanka are huge and they're beautiful. Which, now thinking back, I wonder if living in Sri Lanka had something to do with my love of living in the swamp because it was very, very similar. The weather, the trees, the green, the water. So possibly. Anyways, it's starting to get dark just a little bit. And our driver slash translator, he kind of like, taps me on the shoulder and he says, "Watch, watch, watch." I said, "Watch what?" And he's pointing out the window. "Watch." And I'm looking, and all of a sudden, it was like, God, how can I describe this? The sky turned black. It- I don't know how else to describe it. And these big black, I can only describe them as pods, like in a horror movie, like the pod people. These pods, because I didn't notice it when we were driving, but when he pointed out, there were these black pods hanging in all the trees. And these pods or cocoons, I'm looking at my hands right now. I would say they were probably 2.5, 3 feet long. They opened up and they just dropped to the sky. It was like a scene from the Lost Boys. Because when these cocoon things, pod things dropped from the trees and fell to the sky, they opened up into bats. Yeah. And the nickname for them was like a flying fox. They were huge. Huge. And when they stood on their little feet and walked, they were, I mean, I'm looking right now at my hand. They, like the size of a child, you know? And I'm like, and I've always loved bats. And I'm like, oh my God. So in this particular area where we were, there was a lot of them, thousands and thousands and thousands, to the point that we had to pull over because they were crashing into the trucks. So we pulled over again, and I get out. Well, we all got out of the trucks. Well, not everybody. Only those of us that were crazy enough to do it. And I was so fascinated by them. They were flying so low to the ground because they were going on the hunt for food. They were like hitting the tops of our heads. Um, when I say a flying fox, that's exactly what they look like a little black. Some of them are like an amber colored little fox. Um, and I am not even kidding how big they were. And so these things are like hitting us by accident. And we're like getting lower to the ground. I'm like, oh my, you know, it was by far one of the most amazing things I have ever seen in my life. So apparently, every night at dusk, depending on where you at on the island, of course. God, I sound like I'm in Hawaii. Depending on where you are at in the jungle area, this is what happens. These bats, they go on the hunt, and there's just like literally thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Um, so that was my first introduction to nature in Sri Lanka. Because let me tell you something, I had no idea that this country was so rich in wildlife. The things that I will tell you that that I will be telling you that I saw there was just, it was like so many wow moments. And this definitely was one of them. Um, and the stories are just going to get crazy. I mean, the crazier and crazier as we go along. The adventures that we had in Sri Lanka, um, they're just so vivid. I remember them like it just happened. Anyways, so we've only been in Sri Lanka a matter of a couple of hours or so, and we've had tea and bats. Okay, well, you hang in there. Oh my God, I made a pun. You hang in there and stay wild. And you know what? Follow your instincts. We'll catch you on the next one.